Welcome back. Today I'll be working on one of the two Airline carts that I got a short while ago. This one I'll be working on because the brake doesn't work. You might remember from a couple of videos ago I said this one brake issue, this one brake issue. So these are in a do not use case. Well, believe it or not, they both actually work just fine. So obviously I was wrong. The way these work is you press the red pedal to turn the brake on, and you press the green pedal to release the brake. On this one, which works, it looks like this. So that's locked, and now the two casters that are in the back or the front lock, and then the green pedal will release it. So this one, the red pedal doesn't go down at all, and this one is just flopping around because it's in a permanently unlocked state, which I guess is better than permanently locked. So I'm going to flip this thing upside down and we'll take it apart and see how it works and if we can fix it. So these are from, we'll just call it unnamed Airlines. Because this airline is still in operation and I know some people that work for it, I'd rather just not name them. However, these were decommissioned. They were taken out of service because, well, these things are pretty old. That should be a stable spot. So I'm gonna have to take this plate off. It has 6 Phillips screws. So each one of these pedals, which works independently of each other, has like a push rod. And then this plastic thing is just a spring. This isn't part of the mechanism other than to make sure these pedals stay down. So whatever is going on is either going on inside of here or possibly here. The way these brakes work is that you'll press this, some magic goes on under here, and somehow these thick washers effectively they come up and interfere with the wheel, and I can definitely tell that because you can see it's worn more there. I think this tire's more pronounced. You can see it's worn here, but not as much out here, and that's because this is what pushes on these wheels to lock it. So let's get these screws off. Well, that looks like a simple mechanism. All right, so when you pull the green pedal up here, that pulls this, that turns this triangle piece clockwise, and it pulls this rod. It makes the rod rotate this way. When you push down the red pedal, it's supposed to move this triangle counterclockwise, and it will push this, it will make this rod rotate around this way. But something is clearly jamming it, and I don't see any movement on these washers. So I think I'm going to go further and take off one of these casters. Just my luck, this one, the screw part is spinning. I wonder if I have access to that on the inside of the box. So on the other side of here, it's a Phillips. That'll just have to go up with a screwdriver and hold in. Ooh. Crusty. You know what it is? That is seized right up. Knowing that, I'm going to take off the other one too. I generally don't like using impacts, but that was a lot faster. That one is seized solid as well. Well, let's see. Now that those are off, will the mechanism work? Yep. So you can see here, when you push this down, that triangle rotates, pushes the rod, and then there are some flats milled on this rod that turn and would push that, I'll call it a plunger, that plunger down to push the washer. It's a very simple mechanism. So I think the easiest way to fix these is going to be to brush out some of that gunk, spray with some oil, and whack it with a hammer. You know, it'd probably be a smarter idea to do this in the vise, but I'm too lazy for that. I'm going to use my machinist's hammer because precision. I'll use some of the good stuff. That one still won't move. That one works. I'd say that one's back to working order. There's nothing wrong with that one now. It's funny that they just seized up like that. I don't know if these were just out of service for a long time and then they tried to use them again. I can't imagine. Maybe it was one that they just didn't use very often and it was, you know, usually stowed. You can see there it's moving a little bit. It just doesn't want to return yet. Well, that one soaks. I'm going to wipe this one off a little bit because now it's all full of oil. All right, well, I think that one's ready to go back on. Man, that thing is still so tight. I don't quite get it. I might try and actually disassemble this thing completely to figure it out. Well, I have a new appreciation for aircraft mechanics now because they have to deal with this sort of crap. How are you even supposed to get a screwdriver? Tell me, how are you supposed to get a screwdriver in there that'll turn anything? All right, I spent about, I don't know, 10 minutes fighting with that until I realized that I can remove the wheels. So to the lucky viewer who saw that right away, you win the award of most observant person. But look how chalky and white that is. This might be galvanic corrosion right here. Let's see. It's a little magnetic, so it's probably stainless, and it's possible that some of the stuff in here is aluminum, but that could just be age. Yeah, the rest of that's steel. So yeah, I guess I don't really know why it's so disgusting, but it could just be age. This makes that a lot easier to deal with. Also, there's a lot of nasty hair in here from who knows how far back. As you can see, I finally got that nut off. It was a pain and it took the impact to get it off, so I think I can just screw this in and that should make the whole thing just fall apart. well, I say just fall apart as if it's gonna actually happen. Nothing about this job has been all that easy so far. Winner. So the spring is still captive in there. Oh, there we go. Guess got sprayed in the face with oil. The rest of this, guess I'm just not quite sure how that's gonna come apart. But you know what? I don't think it needs to anymore because I got what I was after, which is just this, looks like a stainless shoulder bolt of some kind, headless shoulder bolt. I have to clean that up with a file, but other than that, I should just be able to run some emery or Scotch-Brite on that. Run something through there, like a pipe cleaner or something, to clean that out, and it should be back to fresh. It's got some steel wool here to try and scrape up some of the junk in this. Now, I'm kind of on the late game to steel wool. I never really used it too much before, but now that I've tried it a little bit, and this stuff is great. It's not like, you know, it's not like it fixes everything, but, you know, it does a surprisingly good job on most things. At least surprising to me. Like there, yeah, it's not gonna clean that up very well. It's kind of like if you want to bring luster or a nice finish back on something like this right there, that looks a lot better than that one. So you can see that's what it looks like before. A quick rub and it looks a lot better. All right, so now I have to address some of the bite marks from my pliers and some of the gouge marks from the slotted screwdriver here. You can see that's a little loose. All the parts are cleaned up as best as they're gonna get for now. I cleaned up the axle for the wheels on a wire wheel, and it cleaned up real nicely. This stainless pin, I did use a small file to clean up the edge there, and then I used a die. This is M8 by 1.25. I used a die to clean up the threads a little bit, so it threads back into the brake washer and the jam nut really well. It doesn't like this, but it's free enough for now. It just doesn't like going in and out. So I think it's just time for some reassembly. I don't think there is a top or bottom to this spring. Yeah, it feels so much better now. Doing this through a camera is a lot more difficult than just doing it normally. I'm sure this is supposed to use a spanner wrench. And I imagine this is the same way that you would adjust this brake to the other brake to make sure that they engage the same way. Or to the same strength. It's the more, I guess, more accurate way to say that. Aha. Yeah, this is where that spanner would come in handy. But why use that when you can use a Knipex? you don't want to know how much petrified and crusty hair I had to pull out of these casters. It almost makes me want to go and clean up the other ones, but at the same time, I don't want to go through that again. Not sure if that'll move far enough. I might have to move this. I might have to take this apart and move that back in, because I just don't think that that amount of travel is going to be enough. You know, and if I look at the other one, which I'm assuming these are both adjusted properly, that pin is a little bit too far towards the wheel. So I'll go and push that back in, and once I'm done with that, we will go and reinstall everything. Everything's ready to be reinstalled, so let's get these back on. One thing I'll have to be aware of is to make sure that I don't push these screws down, because then they will be lost forever. Well, there was one. A little more work than I thought it was going to be. These through bolts are a pain when they just keep wanting to twist. All right, these ones lock up really nicely. These ones don't. So let's see, that means this needs to go further up. So I need to loosen this and take that all back off again. This one locks up good. The other one's a little bit weak now, but you know what? I'm just going to call that good enough. So I'm happy with how these turned out. That was actually overall not too bad, other than trying to get that off there. Everything spins around free otherwise, which is the more important piece. So now I just put the shield back on and we're done. All right, complete. That locks. This wheel I might want to turn it the other way around, but that one locks up really well and it releases. So I'm gonna call that a success. I think it's fair to take this out of service tag off now, since it is now again serviceable. So I'm gonna call it a wrap on this one. I'm happy with how that turned out, and this will be a nice piece for some either mobile tool storage or mobile parts storage. So until next time, see you later.